Alright, Governor, so I promised you a video. I decided to put it instead on the r/kettlebell subreddit because I think it's pretty interesting. I don't think that there's necessarily a lot of good information coming from people about like what hardstyle is. I know that that's weird because it's such a popular school of study, you know, Strong First and RKC and all of these other weird branches that branched off of the Pavel split from RKC. If you don't know about that, I can also talk about that at some point if you want, but I know that that guy kind of arachnid. That guy fucking knows everything, so maybe he would be better suited making a video about that. But yeah, I find that there's not a lot of really good information focusing on what exactly the philosophy of hardstyle is, and so as now an RKC certified coach, that's something that I can do. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to provide a little bit of backstory, a little bit of history, and I always do this about my training. So in order to understand why the maximum tension concept matters to me, you need to understand my background. So I was into mostly strength training when I was younger. On that YouTube channel that I posted, you can see me doing like, when I was 16, like a 240 times 8 or something high bar ATG squat. So, you know, nothing too impressive, but from a young age, I was always kind of interested in strength, and I was really into Elliot Holt's videos and stuff. And so, you know, at that time, I sort of trained with that like powerlifting, like maximal tension thing kind of going on. And that sort of went into college as well, where I was invested in strength training. But until I stepped foot into a CrossFit gym, I wasn't super in love or super invested in training. But when I stepped into the CrossFit gym, it sort of encapsulated a lot of what I loved. It had running, you know, all of these really athletic kind of things. And because I give everything 150% when I fall in love with it, I signed up for the hardest programming probably known to man, which is Invictus Athlete. Anybody who's ran Invictus Athlete knows that it's fucking insane the amount of volume that you do. But I sort of rose to the occasion. And I did that for like a year and a half to 2 years until I tore my knee in a freak accident, which luckily I'm mostly recovered from now. And so during this time, I trained like in a ton of modalities. But I mostly like did conditioning with heavy weight or with gymnastic style stuff. So think like 225-pound back squats times 5, and then immediately into a 500-meter row into muscle ups. I would also do long form conditioning pieces like a 20,000-meter row or something along those lines. But really, the bulk of the work that I was doing was these like strength endurance pieces. And so what ended up happening was those principles of maximum tension, etc., that I learned when I was younger, I didn't apply them as much to when I was doing my CrossFit style conditioning stuff. And because that's most of what I'm doing, when I sort of enter that mind state where my heart rate is getting up and I'm trying to get as much work done, what I do is I sacrifice tension. And I'll be explaining what tension is in order to increase my work capacity or my efficiency. So for instance, right, when I'm squatting 225 pounds, when I was competing in CrossFit, right, that's almost 50% for me, a little bit over, which is essentially baby weight, right? And so I don't need to use the Valsalva maneuver. I can kind of just like breathe through my squats and make sure that I'm not getting lightheaded or getting dizzy so that I have energy to hit that 500-meter row. Obviously not the safest. The Valsalva works really well. There's a reason why so many people do it, but nobody said CrossFit was that safe, so we could talk about that some other time. And so I think that that's sort of what happened when I started using kettlebells. Was I was like, oh, this is an implement to get as many reps as possible, right? Like I want to get 50 swings instead of 10 swings if I can. I'm stronger if I can do 10 swings. I'm sorry, I'm stronger if I can do 15 swings than if I can do 10 swings. I didn't really think about them as like, I don't know, a strength implement, right? Which is kind of fucked up, but that's what my perspective was. And so, you know, before the RKC, I was essentially doing like CrossFit style lifting with the kettlebells. I wasn't focusing on maximizing my tension for a short time with the belt. I was focusing on maximizing my work capacity and the number of reps that I was doing. So there's a value to both methods here, right? Essentially what hardstyle is that you do everything with so much tension that like you physically can't sustain doing a set of like 15 reps or something along those lines. Like you'd fucking die if you did. That's why you always hear Dan John say like, oh, the optimal range is like 10 to 15 or something like that for kettlebell swings, because Dan John is doing the hardstyle swing. And so hardstyle is strength training, right? The CrossFit style is more conditioning. Also the hybrid style is more conditioning, but hardstyle is strength training. Kettlebell sport, or CrossFit is more similar to like Getaway sport or something along those lines, if that makes sense in what I'm saying. So like when I talk about tension, sorry it's taken so long to get to this point, but when I'm talking about tension, what am I talking about? So like when you're swinging, right, try to fucking plank out at the top and squeeze your ass. I'm wearing a pair of pants and I'm not wearing underwear right now, so I don't want to show you what it would look like. I could show you in a video later if you want, or I could send you one of the videos that one of my training videos, maybe I'll include it, where you can see that I'm doing that. But I can sort of show you from the position that I'm in right now, right? So when we're thinking about the clean and press, right, so you get the good clean, and then when you catch it, if you're being lazy about your catch, right, like, and this is something that I do, I just sort of, like you can see, right, like I'm not super glued together, I don't look that tight, and so when I'm pressing, I don't know, a 24, I'm very loose, right, and so I can go overhead, and luckily I have good shoulder mobility, so I don't need to like shrug to get it or anything like that. I can get my elbow to my head or whatever, or sorry, my bicep to my head. But in the hardstyle version, right, like I'm essentially like locked, right? I'm locked into place. So look at the difference, right? So this is what I was doing before. Loose, right? Loose. And then the hardstyle version is like this, locked in, right? And then when I press it, my lat is flaring. Like you can physically see my lat flaring right here until I get it overhead, right? And then I drop it down. So when I'm pressing the 32 kilograms like that, I'm much stronger, right? Like I'm employing much stronger tension. I can press more reps technically because I'm using a stronger method, but it gasses me more, so I'm less efficient. Hopefully that makes sense, right? Like if I go for a fucking max out with 32 kilograms using the hardstyle positioning, I can get more reps, but by the end of it, I feel like I'm going to fall apart and die, right? Obviously I'm exaggerating a little bit, but hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, like practice next time you do the press, right? Like log that elbow into place and hold that shit there and then press it and keep your lats activated the whole time. And they don't like it when you do the elbows, the bicep to the head thing, but yeah, try that out and see what you think, or get that maximum tension in that swing. So my last point that I want to get to is if you swing the CrossFit way with no super hip snap or anything, not holding all that tension, you can literally get like multiples of reps because it's just more efficient in terms of energy conservation, and you're not getting maximal strength development. And going back to that like philosophy piece that I touched on that Coach Rob would always use when he was talking during the RKC, essentially you want to ask yourself, like, what are you training for, right? And so when I think of training in multiple different silos, essentially, right? Like there's the realm of conditioning, there's the realm of strength, there's strength endurance, right? This is all tactical barbell stuff. But essentially, you can use the kettlebell for various silos, right? So for strength endurance, right, you're kind of in the CrossFit Getaway style stuff, more that hybrid. For the conditioning, you're more towards that hybrid style, the Getaway sport as well. And then for strength training, right, you want to be using maximal tension so that you can develop strength everywhere across your body when you're only just doing a press, right? Which also happens with the military press and the barbell, but I feel is a bit unique with the kettlebell because there's that cross-body stabilization, or in the case that you're doing doubles, right, you're using the wedge technique to get over it, and you have to stabilize two arms at the same time, so you're still building sort of a unique bit of strength as opposed to the military press on the barbell. And being completely frank, I think I might stick mostly with the kettlebell press, doubles or singles. Even when I have a barbell back in my hands, I think that the kettlebell press may actually be a better tool in my training toolkit than the military press is right now, at least for me. Yeah, and so that's kind of most of what I'm thinking. If you have more thoughts, or you want to hear more thoughts, feel free to ask. But yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking about hardstyle and tension. Emilio out.